Yo guys, what's up? My name is Gbagyi Prime, the ITK, here again with another album review. Today we are talking about Bez's latest album, or his second album, Gbagyi Child. Now, Bez is, a legendary Nigerian artist who you can say is a pioneer sort of in this, in recent times in terms of alternative Nigerian music, being an inspiration for newer artists such as Adekunle Gold, Aramide, Lindsay Abude, Simi, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, Bez had, released an album in 2011, had spawned, very popular tracks such as Zuciya Daya and Super Sun. He sort of disappeared, and then he's resurfaced 5 years later with this album, Gbagyi Child. Now, for those of you who are wondering what is Gbagyi, Gbagyi is a tribe in Nigeria, situated around the north central regions, around the states, or around the capital, Abuja, as well as states like Nasarawa and I think Kaduna. Even though there's a sort of superposition of Hausa culture on, cultures in the north, Gbagyis still have their own unique identity. And I'm very happy with this album. I'll say right off the bat, I'm very happy with this album because this album is experimental, it's unique, it's drawing on a combination of so many different flavors, instruments, sounds, and it really comes together quite well. So this album is about 13 tracks long. There are 2 features on here, the wonderful Simi and Yemi Alade on a remix. So the first track, My Baby, this is the opening track, and my perception of this is this track could be dedicated to a lover, it could be dedicated to a child, his baby, or it could be dedicated to his guitar, or even music. But basically saying, he knows his baby will smile for him, he knows his baby will dance for him, and it's a very happy, joyful track, lovely production on here, very jazzy, very elegant, and very classy. The next track, There's a Fire, it talks about a 5'3" very beautiful girl who is insecure about, Bez's love for her. And he's saying, there's a fire in me that water can't quench. So there's no need for her to be insecure. This track again is very elegant. I'm feeling, the influence of Fela certainly on the horn arrangements on this track. The next track, You Suppose Know, You're Supposed to Know. And basically this was one of the lead singles, I believe, of this album. And it's a very warm track. Basically on this track, Bez is saying, why are you questioning my love for you? Why are you still asking if I love you? You should already know that by now. There's no need for you to question that. This track is very warm, very elegant. A lot of the themes on this album are about love for his baby, love for his girl, for a significant other, and love for his home, Gbagyi, or his home of Gbagyi. The instrumentation is very playful on this track, very jazzy, as I said again, and it is very upbeat. The next track, Breathe, this is a track featuring Simi. Again, she's providing very beautiful vocals on here. They form a lovely duet on this track. And basically, they're just saying, they shouldn't forget to breathe when they're around each other, because they are so captivated by each other's presence. They're so in love with each other that, even that love can make them forget something so basic as breathing. A very lovely track again. The next track, Eternity, this has lovely swelling production, it just builds up and then the crescendo. It features a goje on here. A goje is a Hausa fiddle, or northern, let's just say a traditional fiddle. I don't want to say Hausa. It's a traditional fiddle. That's the thing I love about this album, is the incorporation of things that are, you wouldn't even think, like there's an electric guitar and then a goje, and then you have, different elements just coming together, and it just makes sense. The next track, Zamuche, Zamuche means in Hausa, what we will say. This has, a very eerie electro introduction, lovely drum patterns, very nostalgic to me, feels very northern in terms of the beat. northern, it feels very familiar with northern Nigeria. And basically he's saying, you know, in Hausa, we will go anywhere you want me to go, we will do whatever you want me to do, and we'll say the real thing, like we'll say the truth, the realness. There's a certain element of this track that gives it a certain vastness and emptiness. Like this track is this album in general is very vivid in it, in that it paints images, it gives you a perception of space and depth in a way that I haven't really, you know, felt in many albums. Because on this track, you know, I get this feeling like you're in the savannah regions of northern Nigeria. You're feeling that vast, sparse landscapes, and it is a very beautiful track. I think the standout track, the best track, and probably one of my contenders for Song of the Year is Home to Gbagyi. This is a very beautiful, well-structured, great track in general. It's very atmospheric, very descriptive, and very vivid. And it gives you the perception of what being Gbagyi is, what, you know, the Gbagyi environment is, and, you know, just that perception. I remember a month or so ago when I had talked about Ice Prince's Just to the World, and I don't mean to bring two artists, but just so that maybe you can understand my reviews in future, and when I say certain things, I had talked about Ice Prince's Just to the World a month ago, and I had said that album did not give me any perception of what Jos is or represents, or the lifestyle or the music or the sounds. Home to Gbagyi is something you can listen to and understand my point when I talked about Just to the World. Now, it didn't go very, very traditional, but it had elements of traditional Gbagyi in it. Like I said, it features a goje. It gives you this atmospheric feeling of a nighttime, you know, with the crickets in the background. And it tells you a story about how, you know, in Gbagyi culture, you have, you know, stories in a bonfire under the moon sky, and how the women wake up early in the morning before anybody else, and the hunters get ready with their wooden guns. These are images I am familiar with. It gives me a nostalgia trip, and it also enriches my understanding of Gbagyi culture. Now, even if it is one or two things, it still gives me an understanding of where Bez is coming from. You also have very traditional flutes on this track. He also talks about Miyar Kuka, which is a traditional, you know, northern dish. And, you know, he talks about superstition, where the owl is never safe, which reminds me of a story from my childhood when an owl had appeared in, security guards post, and they were freaking out because they were like, oh my god, it's an owl. Like, it gives it that element of relatability, it gives that element of realness, and you get that he's not just calling it Gbagyi for just the sake of, you know, pasting it. He's actually telling you his experiences, his stories, what being Gbagyi is about, and you get that. When you listen to it, you're like, yes, this sounds Gbagyi. You're feeling it. And you're transported to a different dimension listening to this album. So I will say, if you're one of my viewers who isn't Nigerian, listen to this album. It's not something that is, you know, it is something that you can get used to. It's something that it's very experimental, but very beautifully conceived and constructed and, you know, delivered. It is an album that is well tied together. There are a few tracks that I didn't like particularly. A few of the elements felt a bit repetitive, but I love that, element of homage to your home, and really paying homage to your home, not just on the surface value of it, but really going in and talking about your home. I will say I will give this album an 8.5 out of 10. Highly recommend that you listen to this album. If you're a fan of alternative Nigerian music, if you're a fan of jazzy, soulful music, if you'd like to see how that is incorporated with traditionally Nigerian sounds, give this album a listen. It'll be well worth your time. Yeah, and those are my thoughts. Be sure to check out Gbagyi Child by Bez. My name is Gbagyi Prime. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. If you're new around here, why not click subscribe? And I hope you have a blessed day. Goodbye.